Hello and welcome to today's NetBees live demo. Today I want to talk about the Cisco DevNet CREATE 2019, which it's an event that just happened in Mountain View. So it was yesterday and the day before, and this is the annual Cisco conference solely dedicated to um, programming the network. So this new discipline, as they baptize net DevOps. So at this conference, I met with many different profiles, either network engineers or security engineers or wireless engineers on one side, or software developers on the other side. The common factor was is users or even partners, software developers that are looking to build integration between systems by using APIs, or develop new system using API from Cisco or other systems. One interesting thing is that the Cisco DevNet community crossed 500,000 of users. So that's clearly like shows attraction into this discipline. And the opening keynote also was very interesting. One thing that it was the technologies that were shown is one, for example, Wi-Fi 6, or also like the new protocol 802.11ax, and they show how, for example, when you're streaming at a stadium, a 4000 video, the difference between an AC and AX connection. So type of technology that also enables, like in a very crowded environment, to have better Wi-Fi performance. Then of course they talk about the 5G. A lot of like way enables like mobile users, like police cars, for example, to get high-speed data on their mobile office, as they call it. Another like a very interesting technology that some use cases were shown during the keynote is a machine learning. So for instance, there was this demonstration of if video footprint from a stadium, and if you see the video, you see a crowd, you wouldn't be able to recognize yourself that there was actually a fight going on. So this Cisco partner was able to deploy and develop and deploy this technology that enables exactly to detect fights in stadiums, something that is very difficult otherwise for humans to do. And lastly, of course, was all about the Meraki API. The demonstration that they showed was very interesting. For example, they were creating a Wi-Fi network from scratch using the Meraki API, and also they were showing the locations of the network, where this network would extend in the whole world. So very, very powerful keynote and a demonstration. I really like it. So during the session, first of all, we went to Cisco DevNet because we had a talk, and I'll tell you more about it in the next slide. But here, kind of took some notes about some of the sessions that I've attended that I found very interesting. The first one was a network programming with Nornir, which is Python-based, and the kind of the takeaways, at least that I got from the talk, is like it's more programming oriented than Ansible. So there are definitely overlaps with Ansible, but it's something that is more as better way to develop application. And it's also used with Nornir to abstract inventory and task execution across multiple nodes. So one demonstration was, for example, getting configuration from a bunch of routers and then pushing configuration. Another talk was from Mapwise. This was a partner, Cisco partner, and they show how to use advanced location analytics by Wi-Fi data. So, for example, access point probes and so on. And then they were able, with an accuracy of 10 to 20 meters, determine the location of devices, which is pretty good. Although I was hoping that it would be a little more accurate, the location. Another interesting thing that I learned is that unassociated devices like mobile phone are not unique over time. So if you're, let's imagine you have a public venue and you're trying to understand how many devices are at this venue. If you analyze the data of an associated device, like probes, for example. The problem is that a device scan on different channels for access point, and the MAC address used in the process changes because the goal is like to preserve privacy of the client. So um, it's very difficult to estimate the number of attendees on a public venue by using data from unassociated devices, Wi-Fi devices. While on the other side, if you use the data from associated devices, they use the real MAC, so you have a better estimate for, attendee number at a venue, or by using the Wi-Fi APIs. Another interesting session was about network data analysis with Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana, so the ELK stack. The presenter was Eric Chu. He also did network programming with Python. If you're interested in network programming with Python, from a first skim, it seems a very good starting point. You can find that on Amazon. But in this specific talk, it was showing how to do capture and correlation of syslog messages and NetFlow by using the ELK stack. So very interesting. Another talk was about automating data center for network issue identification resolution. And this was based on the Cisco Network Assurance Engine. And there are really like three components. The intent engine, which basically represent like what would be your policies, your goal from a security perspective, or even from a configuration perspective. The network controllers then are the actual, OpenStack, VMware, Palo Alto network, so the controllers of the network device that you have in your network. And then the last one is, of course, the infrastructure itself, the Cisco infrastructure, so the Cisco, in this case, devices. And the network assurance engines is that component that makes sure and check the state of the network infrastructure, validating that the actual policies are enforced in the end on the network. The last one, at least that I am mentioning here, is the Meraki API 101. Meraki has already had APIs, but they have major updates in the last year. And first thing that I can tell you more is like there is Meraki IO. If you want to learn more about their documentation, there is you can find sandboxes, you can find ways, examples on how to use the Meraki API. So they're very powerful. There are really three classes of APIs from Meraki. One is the dashboard API, which is used to deploy, for example, access point and configure networks. Then is the scanning API to gather information, Wi-Fi analytics from the Meraki infrastructure, and lastly, the captive portal API. And it's pretty cool stuff, because with the Meraki API, captive portal API, you can build a doc web app on the captive portal, and for example, programmatically like push forms or survey to your Wi-Fi guest through the captive portal. So really interesting. And lastly, NetBees. We had a lightning demo, so it was a brief demo about our API. The name of the demo was collecting network performance analytics from a swarm of network sensors. You can also find the slides on slideshare.net/netbees. But the NetBees API, I show how you can gather data from ping, DNS, HTTP, and traceroute tests, or from Hyper, VoIP, and speed tests, so throughput data, or also Wi-Fi metrics from the client perspective. So overall, I think I had a pretty good turnover, and the audience seems pretty interested in the API. And next step would be also playing with the Meraki API and see how the two APIs maybe can work together to gather or better the status of the network, both from the infrastructure and from the client perspective by using NetBees. That's all. Thank you, for your time, and have a great day.